As Japan heads to the polls for the highly anticipated House of Councilors election, official data released at 4 p.m. reveals a concerning trend. Voter turnout has reached only 22.42%, reflecting a 0.57 percentage point decline compared to the previous upper house election. This early afternoon figure, while not final, has triggered discussions across media and political circles about deepening voter apathy, generational disengagement, and the legitimacy of democratic mandates. This article dives deep into the significance of the numbers, voter sentiment on the ground, reactions from major political parties, and the broader implications for Japan's democracy in 2025. The numbers so far: a shrinking civic engagement. The Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications released provisional voter turnout data indicating that as of 4 p.m., just 22.42% of registered voters had cast their ballots. This marks a notable decline from the 23.00% recorded at the same time during the 2022 House of Councilors election. While the full-day turnout remains to be seen, these preliminary figures suggest a continuation of a troubling national pattern, a slow but steady erosion of voter participation. Political analysts are already warning that if this trend holds through the close of polls at 8 p.m., Japan may see one of its lowest upper house election turnouts in history. What's driving the decline? 1. Public disillusionment with politics. A recurring theme among voters interviewed in Tokyo, Osaka, and rural prefectures like Akita and Tottori is a sense of disillusionment with mainstream politics. Many citizens feel their voices are not being heard, and they express frustration with what they perceive as policy stagnation and lack of bold leadership. I voted in the last 3 elections, but I didn't see any change in my life, said 35-year-old office worker Rika Tanaka in Shinjuku. This year, I just don't see the point. 2. Lack of youth engagement. Turnout among young voters, those aged 18 to 29, has historically been lower than other age groups. Early estimates suggest that this year may be no different. Despite extensive campaigns on social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, political messages have largely failed to ignite enthusiasm or sense of urgency among the youth. Some attribute this to the disconnect between politicians and younger voters, who are more focused on immediate issues like job insecurity, climate change, and rising education costs, topics often overlooked in televised debates or campaign pledges. 3. Election fatigue and scheduling conflicts. This year's election comes on the heels of multiple political controversies and reshuffles in the ruling coalition, leading some voters to feel overwhelmed or fatigued by frequent political noise. In addition, today being a public holiday and start of the summer vacation season, many families have opted for travel or leisure over a trip to the polling station. Political parties react. Warnings, optimism, and appeals. Ruling Liberal Democratic Party (LDP). Officials in the ruling LDP, led by Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, expressed concern about the low turnout figures, viewing them as a possible sign of discontent. "We take this seriously," said LDP Secretary General Keiji Morita. "We urge citizens to participate until polls close. Democracy only works when people engage." The LDP has been campaigning on promises of national security, economic recovery, and constitutional reform. However, internal critics acknowledge that such messaging may not resonate with everyday citizens facing inflation and stagnant wages. Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan (CDP). For the CDP, the low turnout could be a mixed blessing. While they have aggressively targeted dissatisfied voters, particularly the youth and urban populations, their gains depend heavily on whether those demographics actually show up at the polls. "We're disappointed to see turnout lagging, especially among young people," said CDP Policy Chief Aiko Fujimoto. "This is a moment to hold power accountable. We're still hopeful for a late-day surge." Japan Innovation Party (Ishin) and Komito. Smaller parties like Ishin and Komito also weighed in. Ishin leaders in Osaka said they believe their stronghold is still mobilized, though urban disengagement may dent their expectations. Komito, known for its grassroots campaign efforts, was cautiously optimistic that its core supporters would vote regardless of national trends. Voices from the streets. Why people are choosing not to vote. In interviews conducted at major train stations, parks, and convenience stores in Tokyo and Kyoto, many voters offered honest, often cynical takes on today's election. "I'm not voting because none of the candidates speak for people like me," said Haruto Watanabe, a 28-year-old gig worker in Shibuya. "I don't even know what half their policies mean." An elderly woman in Chiba, who wished to remain anonymous, said she always voted in the past but stayed home this year. I've lost trust in all of them, she said. They argue on TV but do nothing for our pensions or medical care. However, there were also positive voices. I still believe in voting, it's the least we can do, said 42-year-old mother of two, Kanae Fujita, after voting in Saitama. Even if I don't love any candidate, I don't want to give up my rights. What happens if turnout remains low? If the final voter turnout ends up being significantly lower than previous elections, it could have several serious consequences. Legitimacy questions. A government formed with a historically low turnout may face criticism over the legitimacy of its mandate, both from opposition parties and the public. Policy gridlock. Low voter engagement can embolden fringe movements or discourage moderate voices, potentially leading to a more polarized and less productive legislative environment. Long-term damage to democracy. Declining participation is often a precursor to deeper democratic erosion. Without strong civic involvement, political accountability, transparency, and trust suffer. Turnout by region. Who's voting and who's not? Early regional breakdowns show some interesting trends. Higher turnout in rural prefectures. Areas like Kagoshima and Yamagata recorded slightly higher participation compared to urban centers. Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya lag behind. These major cities, despite being economic and political hubs, posted some of the lowest 4 p.m. turnout figures, suggesting a particularly urban disengagement. Okinawa shows interest. With ongoing debates about U.S.-based realignments and autonomy, Okinawa recorded turnout figures 1.2 points higher than the national average by 4 p.m. What comes next? Polls will remain open until 8 p.m. Japan time. Election officials are urging citizens to vote in the final hours, with some stations reporting slightly longer evening lines than usual, potentially signaling a late surge. Exit polls and initial vote counts will begin to trickle in late tonight, with clearer results expected by the early morning hours of July 21st. Conclusion. A critical test of faith in democracy. Today's low voter turnout figure, 22.42% as of 4 p.m., is more than just a statistic. It reflects a deeper malaise in Japan's political culture, a growing chasm between citizens and their representatives, and an urgent call for reform. As ballots continue to be cast and counted, the question remains, can Japan's political class reconnect with its people before democracy itself becomes another casualty of apathy? Stay tuned for full election results and analysis as they unfold.